What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. What is going on, everybody? Just hanging out here on Thursday, watching a little U.S. Open, and thought, let's talk a little football. Watched a lot of the clips from last night with Tom Brady having his number officially retired with the New England Patriots, and had a big takeaway after watching a couple different things. Belichick made a cameo, got a big standing O. It was cool. The tampering investigations on Kirk Cousins and Saquon Barkley, we can dive into that, which, yeah, I got some thoughts there. Of course, it's Fugazi Friday. Have a Fugazi when it comes to curses, sports curses. And we'll hit a couple other NFL stories, just things I saw today floating out there, as basically every team in the league after this week will head to vacation. And coaches will go hang out with their families. Players will go kick it and do whatever they do, train a little bit. And then we will reconvene, July 20th through July 25th and get camp up and rocking and put on some pads and start playing real football. But before we dive in to Tom Brady, I was watching the U.S. Open. I was like, God, I would love to be there. And maybe someone listening right now went on Thursday or maybe earlier this week in a practice round if you live out there. And I love going to a golf tournament. It's a unique event. Get to have some beers, eat some food, watch a little golf. Doesn't even really matter that much. And get a little workout because you take a lot of steps. If you want to go to a baseball game, a lot of you guys have already hit me up and said you went to football games, bought tickets for football games this fall because of the official ticketing partner of this podcast, Game Time. They're the best. They have been great to us here on the show, and I have used them religiously from everything from concerts. If you want to go to a comedy show, some comics that are hot right now. Shane Gillis, watched a little bit of Tires, had a few laughs. And you want to go see him, do it on me. Because right now, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code JOHN, J-O-H-N, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. One thing I've always thought was really cool in pro sports, when a guy spends his entire career with one organization. And football, unlike the NBA, for example, you get cut. The moment you start slipping, they get rid of you. I mean, before Tom Brady existed, the best quarterback of all time was traded, and Bill Walsh had been trying to replace him for like half a decade. So football, the meritocracy that's involved, regardless of your stature, your status, your previous accomplishments, it's very, very cutthroat. But we still have a long line of examples. I mean, Peyton Manning was once cut, right? Now, he had a bad neck, and we didn't know at the time if he could play again. He's even gone on record saying it was a scary time for his career. But they cut him. Now, they were getting Andrew Luck, but still, Peyton Manning was available on the open market. Tom Brady played his last 3 years for another team. But it wasn't because he wanted to leave. It was because Bill was like, yeah, I'm short and a 42-year-old. I don't think I think he's going to fall off a cliff. And he didn't. He won an MVP. He won a Super Bowl and obviously cemented his took it to another level. But as Tom said, and I didn't quite understand, I saw a lot of posts about it over the last couple of weeks that there was like a Tom Brady number retirement. I guess I had assumed it was more of like Kraft, Patriot people, former players, kind of an in-house thing. It was like a football game. I mean, they did a panorama around the stadium, and that place was packed. It was like the freaking Rolling Stones were there. And as Tom Brady said last night, I'm Tom Brady, and I'm a Patriot. And I think a lot like Michael Jordan, who played 2 years for the Wizards. Now, unlike Tom, he won a championship, and to the Bucks, Tom means a lot. But I think it's very, very powerful when a guy, and I think it's cool for fans because you root for that human being until the day he dies. he means everything to you. And I know as a fan of the San Francisco Giants, like Buster Posey's Hall of Fame career, every single at bat was with the San Francisco Giant uniform. The reason LeBron James would never sniff Kobe Bryant is because he's a mercenary. He just jumps from team to team. Kobe's entire career, and I don't mean like on the all-time list, we could argue LeBron's a better player. I just mean with Laker fans because Kobe's their guy. Kobe was their guy from the start till the finish. And the NBA player empowerment era, which got so much credit with the media, was cool for Twitter, not great for fans. Like, how's Kevin Durant ever having that moment? And the powerful thing about the NFL is look at some of the young guys now. And listen, Tom, it was like a religious experience. He took the Patriots to 9 Super Bowls. He won 6 of them. That career, even Patrick Mahomes, more than likely, a high probability, will not replicate that. So it's an outlier career. We got 20 years with this guy, this California kid who brought us to greatness, and he's our guy. No matter how weird his face may look with Botox and plastic surgery, or how his hair has changed over the years with hair plugs. And listen, I'm not hating. I lost my hair, and I just chose, probably at the time I lost, I definitely couldn't afford hair plugs, and now it's just too late. I'm just rocking with it. But it doesn't matter how weird things get. He's our guy. And growing up, I saw the power of it with 49er guys in the Walsh in the 90s era, how passionate people that support those guys. And I think it's really cool when someone can spend the majority, if not their entire career. Now, obviously, in pro sports, you got to be good to even have an opportunity to do that. But like Aaron Donald just retired, played for one franchise. Like that's a powerful thing. Now, I don't know, the Rams franchise fan base. It's not exactly like playing, for the Cowboys or the Eagles. But Jason Kelsey recently, right, retired. He's a Philly guy. He's not from Philly. He's from Ohio. He went to Cincinnati. Yet the rest of his life, he's going to live in Philadelphia, I would imagine. And that's his home. And those are now his people. And I think that's the cool part about sports. I was taking my little dog on a walk last night, and the NBA Finals, I bet on the Mavericks, obviously, to win the series. Not going well. That was dumb. And I swear to God, probably, I don't know, half the homes that I could kind of see in, especially in the backyard as we're kind of roaming around, I could see in their backyards. I just saw sports on, the NBA Finals on. And it's still one of the last things that we all agree that, like, we kind of just watch when it matters. When big events happen, football's kind of an outlier because we watch the regular season and the playoffs. But when the baseball playoffs come, it'll just be on people's TVs. Obviously, the NBA Finals is just on people's TVs. March Madness. And we all kind of gravitate toward that. And it's a conversation starter, obviously, for me in what I do when I'm just out and about and I meet someone. You can always talk about sports. And I think when you get to Tom Brady, obviously he's been in our life for a long time, but like that moment as a sports fan, it couldn't have gone any better. But whenever you get a great player and you get to live through it, his youth, his marriages, his children, his ups and downs, his struggles, his greatness, it just bonds you to that person for a long, long time. And I'm not trying to be sappy here, but I thought some of the videos I saw were just really, really cool. And the Belichick thing, clearly the Crafts tried to destroy his name in that Apple documentary. I've said that I stopped watching it after like episode 5. I just thought it was stupid. It wasn't for me. I don't know if it did well or didn't do well in terms of like retention on an episode to episode basis. But I just thought the treatment of a guy who was a big part of, and as Tom Brady said last night, it wasn't you, it wasn't me, it was us. And to just completely shit on him was stupid. Patriots fans knows. And they gave him a standing O, I swear to God, for like 5 minutes. And it was cool. And those were the type things like you don't get in the rest of society. You don't get something like not everyone in that stadium sees eye to eye, has the same thoughts on society, has the same beliefs on the tax system. But like everyone's bonded over the Patriots, over Tom, over Bill, what they all got to experience from 2001 to 2018 or 19. Like you can never take that away from all those people. And obviously Boston, like Philly, like New York, I mean, passionate place, but It's no different than people in Alabama. They got to bond over Nick Saban for the last 15 years, or people now in Georgia with Kirby Smart, right? Or a lot of people in my life that are 49er fans that have had this run for 5 years of doing a lot of winning. It's cool. It's fun. It's powerful. It's what makes, I think, this stuff more than interesting. It's just a connectivity of kind of our world. And Tom, obviously, given that region, no one ever did for them. I guess Bill Russell way back in the day, but in the modern day era, and to really just embrace the place. And it was cool to watch. So cool moment, cool thing by the Crafts. Robert showed up with a girl, maybe it's his wife, girlfriend. I can't keep track of his love life, who had to be 45 years younger than him. Shows you, man. Would she be with him if he was a plumber? Pays to be rich, I guess. We're this close to crowning an NBA champ. And with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered every step of the way with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out as the NBA postseason winds down. It's super easy to just get started with DraftKings if you're a first-timer. Try betting on something like a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It's that simple. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers. Get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. The tampering investigation. This to me is so dumb. Like, before we even dive into any of it, talking about tampering in the NFL or in the NBA or any of these sports when the commissioner and the league office gets involved, when it's around free agency time, is laughable. It really is. It's like Jerry Tarkanian used to say, Kentucky cheated so hard they busted Cleveland State. Like, everybody's talking to everybody once the combine starts. Now, if you legitimately break a rule, the equivalent of like reaching out to a player during the season who's going to be a free agent, or doing that to an assistant coach that you might be interested in hiring, like, there are obviously lines that you can't cross. But if it comes to setting up Kirk Cousins' travel 5 days before free agency hits when he knows he's going to sign with you, or Howie Roseman and the Eagles talking with Saquon Barkley or James Franklin a week before, and the Eagles got off, nothing happened. Atlanta got fined $250,000 and a fifth-round pick removed. What are we doing? Honest to God, what's the point of this? You can't have a legal tampering period and expect people not to contact people they shouldn't contact. I said this the other day about Jerry West, what the cool part about his executive career. He was just one of those guys that got things done. And I would imagine many people listening to this work in different industries, work in different businesses, work with different people to just kind of get stuff done. And there's a blurry line between like, this is like legitimately illegal, and this is probably not right, but we're going to do it because we want to make this happen. And that's business. And anyone that's not doing that is getting lapped. Circles run around them. So for the league to act like this is a big deal, to me, is kind of embarrassing. And every other year, it seems like something like this happens. And it's like, what's the point of all this? I mean, seriously. Last year, or a couple years ago, I guess it was last year, when Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals and the Eagles, and that became an issue. Like, there are legitimate set out rules of when you can interview and when you can't interview. But the only reason the Eagles were really mad is because they wanted Vic Fangio, and because Arizona didn't quite follow the timeline of what you should have been doing. Vic Fangio, they lost out on him for a year. If Vic Fangio had still been around, it wouldn't have been a problem. This was a victimless crime. Who is having an issue with anything? Kirk Cousins was going nowhere else. Like, what other team was mad about this? Saquon Barkley wanted to go to the Eagles, and no one was giving him that much money. So when you get people in trouble, like I understand the slippery slope that is gambling with the players. Listen, obviously you can't bet on your own team and you shouldn't be betting on football, but guys getting in trouble for betting on college football from the facility, like I get it. It's murky waters. This one to me is not at all. Like, who cares? Move on. This is stupid. But the league office loves every once in a while, like kind of flexing their muscles. Like, yeah, we're going to investigate. We want your phones. We want your emails. We want to interview with you guys. Like, come on, Raj. Shut up. What are you doing? You break rules all the time. You sign this television contract with these partners. All of a sudden, you're like, yeah, we're going to do Christmas Day games. Fox and CBS and NBC are like, oh, can we get them? No, we're actually, I know we already have a signed contract, but we're going to bid this thing out to Reed Hastings and Netflix. They're going to pay $75 million. Like, hey, we'll pay the money for the game. No, we're going to do it with someone else. It's like, well, don't we have a contract? So I just, these tampering investigations are so dumb. A couple other NFL news and notes. I call me a new progressive when it comes to naming starters, but when you draft Jayden Daniels, number 1 overall, and unlike JJ McCarthy and definitely Drake May, who's a legitimate project, why don't you just name him the starter right away? Now, I'm not here to act like I know more than Dan Quinn or know their locker room dynamics currently, but Marcus Mariota is currently the other quarterback. So to act like this is anything more than just like old school football, like you got to earn it, it's Marcus Mariota. We've seen him play for a while. Great guy. Marry your sister type human. Probably very below average at this point, starting quarterback in the NFL. And you could argue average to below backup in 2024. Just name Jayden Daniels the quarterback. Now, you could argue it was easy for the Bears. You look at their quarterback roster, it's a bunch of guys you've never heard of. There isn't a Marcus Mariota or a Jacoby Brissett or Sam Darnold. But the moment he had his first press conference in OTAs, he just ended it immediately. This guy's our starting quarterback. He's getting all the reps. Jayden Daniels is going to start for you week 1. I promise you that. So why not just name him that now? Put the pressure of like, this is serious, buddy. It's like, yeah, guys, I know. I've just been the starting quarterback. I don't know if you ever heard of it. The LSU Tigers, kind of an important job as well. Like, I'm used to this. But let everyone else know. This guy's our starting quarterback. This is the standard. Let's roll. Why wouldn't you want to give him all the reps in training camp when he's going to start week 1? So I think sometimes these defensive coaches and these old school guys, what are we doing? Like this makes no, this is not a JJ McCarthy situation where Kevin O'Connell said that Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback, starting quarterback heading into training camp. He didn't say he's our starting quarterback for 2024. He said heading into training camp. At least if you want to do that, be like, hey, listen, Marcus Mariota is currently our starting quarterback heading into training camp. So maybe you want to put a little fire in Jayden. We need a little more out of you. And again, I'm not saying that they think that, but what's the point of just, yeah, we'll see. We'll just keep competing. We just love competing, which I like at the guard position, at linebacker, at quarterback. I think it's stupid. And I think in this modern day football, even with young players, it's unnecessary. Just name him the fucking quarterback. Like I said, Sam Darnold is the starting quarterback going into training camp. I would imagine Sam Darnold is the starting quarterback week 1. And depending on how things go through the season, there's a chance we don't see JJ McCarthy, right? Which I think a lot of people thought that, redshirt type year for the player. Now, who knows? Like, I don't care how bad your team is. The Patriots are a good example. If you have a bridge quarterback like Jacoby or Sam Darnold and things don't go well, there is not a soul in this world that wants to watch the bridge quarterback. I say it all the time. The fans in the league have a lot of juice. Why? Because these owners listen to sports talk radio, podcasts, maybe not podcasts because they're all like 90 years old, read the newspapers. Like they hear this stuff. So if you start 2-7 Like, I don't need to see Jacoby Brissett anymore. And that's why, in a perfect world, Drake May would be the ideal redshirt guy. There is no chance he doesn't play a game this year. None. Because their team's not going to be good enough. Sam, little bit of a wild card. Because if I tell you they're just 4-4, 6-6, and they're just in the wild card mix, you could just play it out. Now, I'm a huge believer, always in experience. I come from Cal Poly, learn by doing, but I learn by doing. Like, that's how I learn, is by actually experiencing things. Mental reps for me, maybe it's because I'm kind of dumb, I don't know, only get me so far. And I think a lot of players, and I think it's definitely true for quarterback, that you learn on the field through reps, how to play. I listened to Mike Lombardi's podcast, and he had on Wink Martindale, the longtime Ravens defensive coordinator who's now at Michigan, who's just with the Giants. And Wink said early on in Patrick Mahomes' career, we used to blitz him. We used to hit him. Well, the last couple years, we no longer could do that. Why? Because he was so good at getting rid of the ball and identifying the blitz. So it was a waste. It was like playing Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. You didn't want to blitz a guy that would destroy your blitz. Well, how do you think Patrick Mahomes got better at that? By seeing it in games over the years and then using that muscle memory, mental memory, to adapt and change and improve. So every young quarterback is going to be swimming no matter what. And I understand Mahomes got a redshirt year, but if that team hadn't been as good, he would have played. But they were just Alex was having the best year of his career, and they won 11, 12 games. So other than that, I do think this new CBA has just helped expedite all. Remember 15, 20 years ago, all these rookies, no one signed contracts. There was this back and forth, and the contract structure was all out of whack. And now everyone is just on this structured, this guy gets paid this, the next guy gets paid a couple percent more, and it just kind of works its way down. You just see constant first rounders, second rounders signed pretty early in OTAs. And it's a much more seamless transition now. For all the back and forth over the new CBA agreements, over the practice times, over the double days taken out and the off days and the back and forth with the players and the management. One thing that is not debatable, that has worked very, very well and benefited everyone, fans, players, definitely the league, is this rookie contract structure and how there's basically no negotiation anymore. Just sign the contract and let's move on. And I would imagine there are some radicals in the media like, these players are getting screwed. Well, we know half of them can't play. So half these guys in the first round get a 4-year guaranteed contract and are essentially stealing. They would never make that on the open market. And then the other half, I would imagine 50% of the other half are underpaid within a couple of years, but that's the nature of doing business. Okay, let's end on this. Fugazi Friday. I've had a lot of people that work behind the scenes on this show. My guy Daniel, James, sending me articles about the Madden Curse. Like, we should do a segment on the Madden Curse because Christian McCaffrey is on the cover, and there's a long, long history of it derailing people's careers, some having significant injuries and never being the same. And I want to state this because I believe this to my core with every ounce of energy I have. There is no such thing as a sports curse. I truly believe any other curse outside of the sports world does not exist. Now, I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in karma. I believe there are certain things that you can convince me on. But when it comes to curses, let's use the most famous one in the history of sports, the curse of the Bambino. The Red Sox traded Babe Ruth, and they didn't win forever. Maybe they didn't win because they weren't that good. Maybe Bill Buckner should have gotten a little lower on the ground ball. Maybe Grady Little should have pulled Pedro Martinez out of the game. Because after they hired Terry Francona, last time I checked, they won 4 championships. So did the curse of the Bambino, like, oh, it's over now. What about the Cubs? The lovable losers. They didn't win forever. Steve Bartman. Maybe he's just a moron. Maybe he just put his glove up and caught the ball. I don't believe the lovable losers couldn't win in the playoffs because of some curse. And this Madden curse, if Christian McCaffrey happens to get hurt this upcoming season, it will have absolutely nothing to do, literally 0%, with taking a picture of him and putting it on the cover of a video game. Plus, I looked at like the last 4 or 5 people that have been on the game. It's like Patrick Mahomes multiple times, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. It's like, well, what about Antonio Brown in 2019? Well, maybe he's just the craziest SOB that's ever played in the NFL. So this Madden curse topic to me is like, I get it. It's a thing, but I think, can we all acknowledge that curses do not exist? If you take one of those little dolls and start poking it with needles, like, that doesn't exist. It's not possible. Like, Middlekauff, you're naive. You need to be more open-minded. Listen, I don't think for a second, because even Christian McCaffrey, I saw, was on NFL Network, and they asked him about it. Are you worried? I said, no, I'm not worried. Like, whether I get injured, whether I'm healthy, whether I have an MVP season, or whether I have a down season, which is basically impossible unless he's injured because he's such a good player, has nothing to do with being on the cover of a video game. And like I said, with the Red Sox, there was no curse. They just weren't that well run. Do you know, for most of my life, the Golden State Warriors were an absolute joke? I mean, a complete dog. Just, they were diarrhea. I'm trying not to swear as much anymore. They were an embarrassment to professional sports. Do you know the reason why? Their owner sucked. And then do you know what happened? He sold the team to a guy named Joe Lacob. And they drafted Steph Curry. Then Jerry West said, if you trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, I will quit. And then they went on a run over about 8 years, and they won 4 championships. Was the franchise cursed, or was it just poorly run? Look at the Washington Commanders, Redskins football team, who look like they might even have a new name coming. They had awful ownership. When you hire the right people, good things happen. Christian McCaffrey had a great season last year. Why? Because he stayed healthy. He's a great player. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, all these guys were on the cover. Whether they had a good season or a bad season, I mean, obviously Lamar had the one because he got injured, but they're all just good players. If they're on the field, they're going to be good. Some of these guys in the previous iterations of the game, like Peyton Hillis, yeah, he's kind of a one-year wonder. We've seen that before. Sean Alexander, like, short shelf life. Decent play. I mean, obviously he had some really good years, but he ain't Christian McCaffrey. I just think this Madden curse thing, do people honestly believe curses exist? Am I sounding like I'm a crazy man? Because I truly believe that it's just impossible to happen. Maybe it happened way back in the day with witches and dragons and all that stuff. It's really why I'm not into those type shows. Game of Thrones, everyone loved. It's the greatest show of all time. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched. I'm a sucker for nudity and killing. Like, if you put that in a show, I'm in. Pretty basic formula for my entertainment. But it didn't do that much for me. Why? I don't believe in dragons. I don't believe in sorcery. I don't believe in all that stuff. And that, to me, is kind of under the umbrella of like what this Madden curse is. Why would there be a curse on the video game? John Madden is one of the most revered figures in the history of football. Wouldn't it be a positive thing? Or just random because some of the guys they put on the game happen to get injured that year? Or their careers happen to kind of be derailed after that? Isn't that part of like statistics? If we just flipped a coin and you gave me 10 names every single year, and I just picked it from a hat, really good players. Some guys might not have great years the next year. Some guys might break a leg. Some guys might tear a pec. Is that because I put them on a video game cover? So I do believe that sports curses, and arguably curses in general, are one of the great Fugazis in the history of Fugazis.